All right, everybody, welcome to the Wyatt on the Water show. Got something a little different here, sit-down discussion. We're doing here at Oak Forest Venues. Make sure you check them out on Facebook. Appreciate them for sure. Nice facility they have here. But we got a familiar person on the show, Mr. Albert Collins, Mr. Rayburn, so to say. We're going to cover, this is going to be a video series we're going to cover, and it's going to talk about high school fishing. And this is some questions that was sent in for him to answer, so we're just going to go ahead and get right on it. Albert, a lot of people want to know, you know, they see the pros and they always hear about the unwritten rules. So what's some of the unwritten rules about tournament fishing and the respect of? Well,
it's mostly courtesy. You know, don't do to somebody you don't want them to do to you.
Right.
You know, if you, probably one of the perfect examples is, you know, first thing in the morning you take, whether you're fishing a tournament or just fishing, you know, always be respectful.
Right.
You know, you can start out at the boat ramp, okay? You know, you have these guys that they'll put their boat in at the boat ramp and they'll pull up to the bank right beside the boat ramp. There'll be 15 boats stacked side by side. So the next people that's trying to put in don't have a place to pull up to the bank to get in and out of the vehicle.
Right.
You know, people don't think, okay, maybe we need to be courteous and move on down some more where the ones that's putting in and out can you know, have a place to do it at.
Absolutely.
So that's probably where, you know, a lot of where the day's going to start wrong for a lot of people.
Gotcha.
You know, you get frustrated there. And then, you know, perfect example, there's been several different times I've been fishing down the bank or see somebody else fishing down the bank and, you know, it'd be, yeah, everybody says, okay, don't fish within 20 yards or 50 yards of another boat. But whenever you are going down a bank line and you're fishing, you're headed that direction, and a boat pulls up 20 yards in front of you and starts fishing the bank in front of you, you know, kind of makes you mad.
Exactly.
You was there. You should be able to get to fish the water. And courtesy-wise, you know, if I'd have pulled up in front of somebody when I was a kid, my dad had knocked me out of the boat.
Right.
You just didn't do that. You know, it was you. If you want to fish and somebody's already there, you let them fish it before you go fish it.
Right.
You know, so, you know, it's just it's courtesy. There's just common sense and courtesy, and somewhere down the road, we've lost a lot of that.
Exactly, and we're going to cover a lot more of that too as we get in here, but
yeah.
Go ahead and dive into the high school deal. What's your opinion on the high number of boats in some of these, and do you think it's a better thing, or do you think it would be better if they split it up, or what's your opinion on that?
I think it'd be better if it was split up. You know, everything that the kids do is split. With junior varsity to varsity basketball, baseball, football, or whatever. And I think they need to do that with the fishing. I mean, you start taking the high school kids and their parents that really, a lot of them didn't grow up fishing. A lot of them didn't fish tournaments. They don't know fish care. They don't know, you know, how to take care of things. And then you take like the 12 to 15-year-old kids that have to fish against the 16 to 18-year-old kids.
Exactly.
The older kids a lot of times will run over the little kids on the water, you know, and it's just, it's
unbalanced.
To me, it's unbalanced and it's unfair, and you start putting that many boats on the water, you're asking for something to go wrong.
Exactly.
I mean, you take 500 boats, yeah, Rayburn is huge, don't get me wrong. Everybody could fish somewhere without getting in each other's way, but there's 4, 5, 6 key areas on Rayburn that everybody wants to go fish. So then you get everybody all clumped in there together. I think it ought to be split.
Yeah.
You know, take the 12 to 15-year-old kids and let them fish one day. You know, take the 16 to 18-year-old kids, let them fish a different day, whether it be a Saturday and a Sunday, or Saturday this weekend, Saturday next weekend. Split them up and give everybody their own chance to grow into it, rather than having the younger ones, rather than having to compete against the older ones. Let them grow into it in their with the age group,
right?
You know, and it would cut the boats basically somewhere around half.
Exactly.
You know, it'd be a lot safer, be a lot more courtesy going on, you know, and not so crowded. Kind of like driving down the road. You know, you take 3 vehicles on the road, driving down a country road. Nobody's pushing, nobody's crowding, nobody's in a hurry. Yeah, you got the one jerk off that thinks, okay, I got to outrun all these guys and get on to where I'm going. I'm gonna save 2 minutes by getting there. You take that same group of 3 people and put them on the interstate in downtown Houston. All right, and you got all these people cutting you off. They're driving in, they're driving out. And next thing you know, you're pissed off or you're frustrated, and then you're gonna be driving just like them.
Right.
You know, you're gonna be uncourteous to the next person that's trying to drive right, because you're gonna
Exactly.
cut them off. You're gonna run them off the road. I got a feeling that's what's gonna happen here at some point.
At some point, because it's so crowded.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
You know, it's going to get to the point to where everybody's going to get aggravated. There's going to be fights. It's not going to be pretty.
Exactly.
If somebody don't start getting a little bit of a handle on what's going on out there right now, it's going to be bad.
Gotcha. All righty, guys. So we're going to cover a little bit of tournament stuff here. And one of the number one things that all the boat captains and the parents want to know is, what should my kids be learning? What's some of the basic techniques they should be learning as they're just starting out?
Basic techniques, you know, you're going to have to kind of break it down into a seasonal type deal. You know, you've got a few things that pretty much will work year round for the most part, but find something that you're comfortable doing and get really good at it, whether it be throwing a Texas rig or you know, wacky rigging a Cinco or throwing a top water or throwing a crankbait. Whatever you like to do, if you will get really well at it, get good with it, and don't try to learn everything at once. I mean, you're not going to learn how to fish everything out there in a month. You ain't going to do it. You're not going to do it in 10 years. But you can take a basic pattern of take a spinnerbait, a lipless crankbait, and a Texas rig worm, and you can pretty much fish anything you want to fish. I mean, you can fish a spinnerbait as shallow as you want to fish it, or you can fish it in 35 foot of water. Same thing with a Texas rig worm. It's hard. There's probably not ever been any more fish caught on anything other than a Texas rig worm.
Right.
I mean, you know, or Carolina rig. But you can fish them year round, get really good with them, and then start educating yourself up into other things. Start branching out from there. But you need to master something that you're comfortable with to start with.
Gotcha. So find something that you like and then work on it.
Right.
Gotcha. Now, another one is, you know, a lot of these boat captains, they may be beginners. Some of these parents, they always hear the pros say, I'm pre-fishing.
Right.
I'm pre-fishing.
Right.
How can kids pre-fish, and what exactly is that, and how can they get better at it?
Pre-fishing basically is I look at it 2 ways. You're trying to learn and you're trying to eliminate. Probably more of my pre-fishing time is spent eliminating water than it is learning, you know, how to catch what I'm trying to find.
Right.
I spend a lot of time looking and I don't ever find. Well, to me, that's a good practice. You know, I can spend 10, 11 hours a day out there fishing, and I might not catch but 2 fish, get 4 or 5 bites doing one certain little thing, but I spent the rest of the day doing a lot of other things. And to me, I just eliminated, okay, come tournament day, I'm not going to do that if I'm not getting bit at.
Won't have to run all over the lake.
Right. I'm gonna sit down and break down what I did get bit on and how I got bit, and I'm gonna try to build off of that. So pre-fishing, you can't look at it, you got to look at it at least 2-dimensional. You know, you're learning what they want, you're also learning what they don't want.
Exactly.
You know, see, that's just the way you got to look at it. You got to say, okay, I'm going to build off of what I did figure out rather than keep trying to do what I didn't do good at to start with.
Gotcha. All righty. So hope you enjoyed the little segment about the pre-fishing, because that was one of the most requested things really is how can my kids learn techniques, what do they need to be learning pre-fishing. But we're just going to talk a little bit about how to fish conditions, how to adapt to conditions. Albert, if you don't mind covering that.
All right, it's adapting is kind of pretty much on the fly deal. I mean, you can't go out with a 100% preconceived notion from what I did yesterday when I was practice fishing and saying, okay, this is 100% what I'm going to do today.
Exactly.
Because it might change overnight. You know, you get a little high pressure or low pressure, or it's raining or sun shining or it's cloudy where it was different from the day before, and things are going to change a little bit, and you have to be able to adapt. The fish are probably going to still be in the same area. They might not want a fast-moving bait today like they did yesterday. You might have to slow down, you know. Just change up. The fish didn't leave. sometimes they're a lot easier to catch, sometimes they're a lot harder to catch. But it's just settling down. Don't get in a hurry. Think a little bit, and it all goes back to getting good at what you're doing. You get really good with something. You can figure out how to make that product work for you, that bait work for you. Once you figure out to move the fish around.
Gotcha. Now, the next question is, everybody knows, Sam Rayburn, you, Rayburn, you, it kind of just goes hand in hand. When you're fishing a tournament on Rayburn or home lake, do you think home lake knowledge hinders you guys when you go to a home lake?
Sometimes it does. You get stuck in a pattern. You get stuck doing things that you want to be doing rather than going open-minded, and that's probably the hardest thing to get out of for me, because I'm pretty set on a lot of the areas I like to fish. The last 4, 5, 6 years, I have learned a whole lot more about areas of the lake, so I can get basically in one area of the lake and figure out some way to catch something out of there.
Right.
But there's times that knowledge, of the water itself from year to year to year to year, okay, this time of the year, I've caught them here every year, this certain area doing this certain thing. And a lot of times that pays off, don't get me wrong. But there's a lot of times that costs me. I get stuck wanting to make these fish bite that aren't ready to bite. They're not there or something other. And I start running the old patterns rather than running the new stuff. And it shows. I mean, you got a lot of the new guys that are coming up that are learning things a little different. I'm pretty much old school with it all, but there's lots of new techniques, lots of new things that the younger kids are learning. And education-wise, they've got so much information out there on the internet and stuff that they can read and learn. You still got to apply it. You got to go figure it out for real life on the water. But it's a whole lot easier to stay open-minded and fish the conditions and the lake for what it is if you're not fishing history.
Gotcha.